Guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, March the 2nd, 2026, and as always, great to have you all along. We can see there's a few of you in the chat at the moment. A little bit to talk about. Obviously, yesterday's big Manuel Navarrete and Sugar Nunez fight. We had the Alexander Usyk news. What do you think of that? Jason Maloney fighting on April 23rd. There's a lot happening at the moment. I did see, was it before? Might have been you, Big Joe, said something about the Michael Zerafa interview that we'll get to as well. And if you're new to the show is exactly what you see there. Talking boxing. If you have a question, comment, remark, whatever it might be, put it in the chat. And for the next 2 hours, let's talk some boxing. So we'll get things off and running. Actually, before I forget, big thank you to everyone that listens to on Spotify as well. And a shout out to you. And also, we have a special guest tonight. Just a quick interview or a quick catch up with Grant Tazzy Brown. Now, if you didn't see the social media outlets today, he's bringing Terence Crawford back at the end of March and I think the start of April. And he's going to come on tonight and have a quick chat about that and what's happening. I did see his interview today with Jay McAllister. As always, Jay doing a fantastic job. So I won't go over all the questions that Jay asked today, but we'll just get a bit of information from Tazzy and what he's got planned for Terence Bud Crawford. All right, well, let's get into it. First comment or question tonight is from Tom's dad, Naz. How are you there, Naz? Evening all. WBC charging Shakur when he didn't even fight for their belt. Stripping Bivol for not fighting Benavides, but allowing Canelo to do it without being stripped. Letting Garcia fight for... Where's the other bit there, mate? Letting Garcia fight for the belt coming off a loss and a no contest, and now letting Spider Rico fight for it after one fight 12 years ago. Suleiman single-handedly making Dana right about the sanctioning bodies being a joke. Well, look, Naz, it's really hard to argue, isn't it? I mean, I had this conversation today with D-Style. I was on his show this morning, and we spoke about this, and you would have seen, if you follow Walking Boxing every morning, I've been pretty vocal the last couple of days. I did actually say, and I don't normally get sort of too fussed about people's comments. So people have their opinions, and that's fine. I mean, you get a thick skin. If you put yourself out there in YouTube land or whatever it might be on social media, you got to expect a little bit of pushback. But I had someone say, "Oh, how could you possibly release this video without even doing your research on Spider Rico? Rico Verhaven, I think his real name is." And I think I said, well, I could not give a shit who he is. I could not care less. He doesn't deserve a shot. So he might be the best combat sports or combat fighter ever. He might be a legend. I think he is a legend in kickboxing. I don't care. He does not deserve a crack at the World Heavyweight Championship. So, and you're right there, Naz. Yes, Suleiman, look, and D-Style, again, touched on this today. He is the master spinner of what he says. Is that the word? I liken him to a politician, by the way, because he just goes round and round and up and down and talks for 10 minutes and doesn't actually come anywhere near answering the question. So that's the way I see him. Where he actually, if you ask him an honest question, and something like this, how can you possibly sanction this fight? He will then get all bent out of shape, and he will put it back on the interviewer about how he'll get all offended, like, how dare you, question us? The rules say this and the rules say this, and all we're doing is following the rules. I mean, it's an absolute joke, and no matter how you spin it, as I said, this guy might be the best fighter ever in kickboxing, but the facts of the matter are he hasn't fought for 12 years. He had one fight as a professional boxer. I can't remember who he fought, probably some other novice or whatever it might have been, and suddenly finds himself 12 years later having a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship and the WBC belt. The WBC is supposed to be the number one belt in the organizations that are out there, and this is a joke. Now, the other thing is too, Naz, is that it was for the belt, and then it wasn't for the belt. It was just a special event, and now it's back to being a properly sanctioned or fully sanctioned fight for the belt. So first of all, WBC, make up your mind. They did put a statement out yesterday or something along the lines of, well, no, it's not actually a sanctioned fight. It's just a special event. Doesn't mean it's sanctioned by the WBC, but we are going to fully support it. We're going to make a special belt for it. It's not even a title fight, but we're going to put a belt out for it anyway to commemorate the fact that our heavyweight champion is fighting a kickboxer who's had one amateur, not an amateur fight, one pro fight 12 years ago. So I don't know how you spin it. And you're right about Suleiman making Dana look like he's 100% correct. So it doesn't make sense. And also, Naz, what's your other comment there? Charging Shakur for not fighting for the belt. And I'm pretty sure the sanctioning fee that they wanted the non-sanctioning fee, whatever it is, just to have permission to fight for the WBO belt was actually more than what the WBO sanctioning fee was for actually fighting for the belt. I think that's what D-Style said today. So just make sense. Fair income. Bivol for not fighting Benavides, but Canelo could pretty much do what he wants for, 5-6 years, whatever it was, and then Garcia fighting for the belt coming off a loss. Letting Pacquiao fight for the belt. I know that had a special stipulation about the legend status or whatever it is, and now they've got this, is it Emerald title or Emeritius title, whatever the hell it is, that they're going to put up for the Pacquiao and Mayweather fight. I mean, where does it end? It is absolutely ridiculous, and no matter how they get up and spin this, they cannot, I suppose, wipe the egg off their face because everyone can see through it. Everyone knows what they're up to, and no one's going to cop this. I wouldn't have thought. So we'll see. Maybe the kickboxing fans think it's going to be pretty good, but real boxing fans, no way. Just quickly too, by the way, guys, I did mention about Tazzy. I think he's going to be on in about 10 minutes time, so I'll keep a lookout for him. We've still got Naz. Where are you there, Naz? I can see your other comment. Trying to keep this in order. All right. I wonder if the Zerafa side of Turkey is loving it, putting on cards so the WBC can tarnish themselves and the integrity of their belt, thus legitimizing Dana White and Zerafa as the saviors of boxing. Well, it's not a bad way to look at it there, Naz, because that's exactly sort of what they'd be looking at, wouldn't they? Although, well, yeah, we'll talk about an own goal. You know, if Dana White or Turkey Al Sheikh or whatever wants to stand up there and poke holes in what the WBC are doing and they're standing in the sport and how they might be dinosaurs in an evolving sport, the WBC have just not only given themselves an own goal, but all the other sanctioning bodies an own goal as well, because people sort of lump them in together. So I'm pretty sure Dana White would have to be sitting back saying, look at this, will you? Geez, if I ever needed something, some ammunition to talk about at the next press conference, well, they just gave it to me on a silver platter. Mauricio Suleiman, it's just how can he describe what they're doing with a straight face, and not just the WBC? How can Alexander Usyk say, well, I am the undisputed? Well, he's not really undisputed, but I think we all sort of see him as the undisputed champion. He's the champion. I am the champion, and I fight all comers. And he's had a really tough 3-4 years, whatever it's been, with back-to-back fights with Joshua, Fury, and Dubois. So he's fully entitled to maybe a softer opponent. Take one of the other ranked softer opponents, not a kickboxer. So again, make it make sense, Naz, because talk about an own goal. These guys, I think they've scored a couple, to be honest. So yeah, it is just absolutely ridiculous. Who we got next there? I can see, is it Richard? Where are you? Richard, I think I've gone past your comment. Sorry. Let's go back, see if I can find it. Hang on, where are we? I'm all over the place here. I'll just read it out. Hey, Lynden chat, did you catch the Jay McAllister interview with Tazzy Brown? Pretty good one. Yeah, well, as I said, mate, we'll have a little bit more to talk about with Tazzy Brown pretty soon. As always, Tazzy wasn't short of a word. He always loves to give his point of view, and that's why a lot of people think so much of him. And he just doesn't care what people say or whatever about him. It's just, you ask me a question, and I'm gonna give you the answer. So I'm sure he'll do it tonight. We've got Cal. What's that there? Woohoo! It's Monday night. I love the show. Thanks, Cal. Great to have you along. Really good to have you tuning in each week. Eminem's in the chat as well. And where are you, Big J? All right. Yeah, have you seen the Zerafa interview? Takes no responsibility or accountability for the Nikita fight. If he keeps shooting himself in the foot like this, he'll have no toes left to blow off. All right, well, let's have a quick look at the interview. I might cover this a bit more extensively tomorrow, but this is what he said if you haven't seen it. All right, so he said he's had death threats. That's probably the main thing that was revealed. He said they've been contacting his sponsors. He says, still to this day, I don't understand the hate. People say it's because you bitched it, but I didn't. I had a genuine injury. I was winning the fight. Well, I think the best answer to I was winning the fight, I think, hey, it went 2 rounds, by the way, so let's not get too excited. But I think the best possible scenario for Michael would have been that it was level after 2 rounds, 1 round each. But I think while the first round was more of a feeling out type of round, I think Nikita legitimately won the second round. Clearly, I thought that he really showed Michael his power, and Michael didn't like what he felt. So I was winning the fight. That is a stretch in a 2-round fight. But anyway, whatever makes him feel good. What else is there? He said he went to a Brisbane hospital, but his team has refused to disclose the X-ray or doctor's report. Now, wouldn't you think with all the backlash and all the drama surrounding the fight, the first thing that his team would do is release the X-rays and the doctor's reports to say, see, he wasn't lying, he's got a fractured eye socket or a depressed eye socket, whatever it might be. If you go into damage control, the first thing you do is show the doctor's report. So I'm going to put it out there that there is no doctor's report. There might have been an X-ray, but the X-ray would have shown shit. So that's what I'm going to say. So I call bullshit on that. Because as I said, if he had a legitimate injury with all the just tidal wave of criticism coming his way and everyone piling on the death threats and all that sort of stuff, how easy it would have been to hold up the X-rays or release the photos and just say, here, I told you so. I've got a cracked or depressed, whatever it is, eye socket, hence the reason why I had to pull out. At least it would give him something. And the fact they haven't released the doctor's report or the X-rays makes him look even more guilty. So I don't know what the reasoning behind that one was. But anyway, so let's call bullshit on that one. He says the online reaction, he said it broke me. I was on top. I've given my absolute all for this, which I don't doubt. All said, when all that subsided, to see the death threats and memes. Yeah, look, I obviously don't condone death threats. I think there's better ways to get your point across without death threats. I mean, that is just ridiculous. But not once, not twice. In that 48 hours, I reckon I copped 20. So again, not cool. If you're one of the ones doing out there, you should give yourself a big uppercut, as Big J would say. All directed at me. And this is the thing. All directed at me. For what? Oh, geez, I wonder why people would have been dirty at you and having a crack at you. It was, oh yeah, well, I don't condone this. When I see you, I'll cut your throat. I know where you train. Be expecting me there. Well, again, that is not on. That is not good. All right. Reaching out to sponsors. What else have we got there? The Under Siege fighter has barely been seen since fight night and has maintained near complete silence on social media until this week. This is the other one that I took notice of. Says he has now deleted the statement he posted to Instagram apologizing for... hang on, I've just got Tazzy in there. I'll get him in a sec. So it says he has now deleted the statement he posted to Instagram apologizing for his poor choice of words in the aftermath of the bout. He's also unfollowed promoter No Limit and a handful of other individuals involved in the fight on Instagram. Now, why would you delete the statement? The one statement that he actually made that actually made sense and actually made fans, I suppose, feel a little better about the whole situation when he did apologize for his choice of words, apologize what happened, apologize for the misunderstanding. Then he goes and deletes the comment, which means he's walking back that comment, which means he's saying, yeah, I said that I was sorry and, you know, I regretted what happened, but I don't mean it now because I've had a chance to settle down and I don't mean what I said, so I'm going to retract that and delete it. Now, talk about own goals, what we're just talking about with the WBC with Usyk. Now, Michael Zerafa, not that he'd probably be watching this, but Mike, if you're watching this, talk about sabotaging yourself. If you wanted to actually appease people out there, you should have come out and done an interview with someone like a Jay McAllister or a Peter Bedell, whatever. Do it to the fans, not some podcast. I think it was a Billy Joe podcast or something like that he was interviewed on. I heard that he was actually asking to be paid to have interviews. I mean, how can he expect the fans out there to actually take to Michael and forgive him and maybe jump on board for future fights? To want to charge people to interview him, I mean, come on. And then retract your apology, then not show the X-rays and the doctor's reports. I mean, come on. You wonder why people are filthy at you. Not that I condone death threats at all, by the way. That is complete bullshit. But can you not see, Michael, I'm going to grab you through the screen and give you a bit of a shake. Can you not see why people don't like you and just will not support you? You just continue to trip yourself up and then play the victim. Why doesn't anyone follow me? Why doesn't Australia get behind me? Well, maybe the fact that you don't own what you've done, retracting apologies, not releasing doctor's report that you insist exists. I mean, come on. We're not idiots out there. You know, and there's a reason why Australian fans, not just Australian fans, but fans all over the world, support certain fighters, follow certain fighters, jump on board, go along with the ride. Why do you think they're making a movie about Jeff Fenech? Because he's the most loved Aussie fighter ever. He was Aussie through and through and didn't use this bullshit if he ever lost a fight. Didn't blame everyone else, didn't play the victim. He copped it like a man. And that's why he is a loved figure in this sport. The most probably loved Aussie fighter we've had. Well, he's had his ups and downs along the journey, but overall, he is the greatest fighter Australia's ever produced. And there's a reason they're making a movie about Jeff Fenech. This here is the reason why they will never make a movie about Michael Zerafa. So there you go. All right. Having said that, the man himself has entered the building. I'm referring to Grant Tazzy Brown, and he's not there because I can't see him there. Where is he? He's not there. Hang on. I've got a camera for him here. There he is. Grant Tazzy Brown. How are you there, mate?
Good, Lyndon. Thanks for having me again, mate.
No worries, mate. I'm sorry I'm a little bit over time there because I was just having a bit of a rant about Michael Zerafa. I mean, you would have heard that, mate. And we'll probably start off on it because I want to hear your opinion. I know you had your say today with Jay, and it was a great interview, by the way, especially probably the last 3 or 4 minutes of vintage Tazzy Brown going off, and that's what we like to see. But, mate, you speak the truth. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's been honest, mate. That's all, Lyndon.
Yeah. Well, that's what we like about you, mate. But I was just referring to this interview today that Michael Zerafa's done, where he didn't retract the apology, but he deleted the post with the apology. And what else did I say there? He said, I had a cracked orbital bone, or whatever it might have been, or eye socket. You know, my team, I wanted to release the photos and the X-rays, but my team didn't want to. Why would you not want to release the X-rays to prove your point? And then also about, what else was it? I can't remember what else I said. But what do you make of the Michael Zerafa thing? And what do you make of him going into hiding and then just sort of sneaking this out on a podcast just to leak it to us boxing fans?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll say this, like, every time I met him personally, he's been very respectful and all that, and you know what I mean, you know, not nice guy and all that. So face to face, he's only been a gentleman and all that. But when it comes to boxing, the sport I love, I don't hold anything back. So this is it. Going back a few years ago, he was going around running his mouth about Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was coming out of the ring and he'd be there calling out for Tim Tszyu. Every media outlet, Tim Tszyu, Tim Tszyu, Tim Tszyu. He got the chance to fight Tim Tszyu in Newcastle, pulled out of the fight a week to go, the week of the fight, saying quarantine, COVID, there was no quarantine. People from Melbourne, Barry Michaels, Joel Camilleri, travelled to Melbourne and came back, no quarantine. So the biggest fight of his career against a guy that he always said he was better than, Tim Tszyu, he pulled out. I would have never forgave him for that. Fox at the time got rid of him, but then they let him back on. Okay, so you've gone round, you pulled out against Tim. Then you're back. Then it's Tim Zoo again. Then he gets a couple of soft touches. Then he fights the younger brother, Nikita Zoo. All right. He fights Nikita Zoo. First round, he goes well. Won the first round. Must have felt something in round two he didn't like and thought this young guy is going to end me. Tells the referee the start of the round, tells the referee I can't see on the way walking to the doctor. Now, any fighter knows, me, you, Lynden, and many others, you don't tell the doctor or the referee anything. If you're in your heart, you're in this to fight, you don't want the fight to be stopped, you don't say nothing. So the referee comes over, on the way walking over, he says, I can't see. So the referee, then he talks to the doctor, I can't see. I can't see. Then the referee takes his time and really maps it out for him.
Yeah.
Michael, if I stop the fight, says it slowly, it will be a no contest. Now, he goes, yeah.
Okay.
That was his.
Okay.
So that's quitting. That's quitting. Okay? Then, on the microphone, I don't know they didn't give me a chance. I was ready to go. I'm ready to go. Mate, blatantly lying. Just admit it, we call it in boxing, you dogged it. That's what we call it. You know what I mean? We might all be fighters, but some do dog it, and he dogged it. And I mean, that's it. And like, you know, I've seen fighters myself. I've had broken ribs in a fight. I haven't been able to breathe with asthma. I've been cut. I've bled in my mouth. Whatever. The last thing I'll ever think about is quitting. And I'm not at the level they're at, but I'd never quit. Go on my shield. I've seen Jai Patea, broken jaw in 2 places, wins the world title. Muhammad Ali fought Ken Norton, not sure which one out of the 3. First round, he got his jaw broken, 15 rounds. Tim Zoo, cut, bleeding for 12 rounds. Hasim Rockman, like egg on his head like that. Guys cut, bleeding, broken jaws, broken hands. Jeff Fennick, broken hands. Every fight he had pretty much. You never stop fighting because you're in there to fight, mate. So to say in the end of round 2, you know when you tell the doctor or the ref you can't see, mate, at the end of the day, he should have just went out in his shield, give his best, instead of rob the public, embarrass No Limit. Now, Matt and George were they were fucking in tears, I heard.
Yeah.
They were, and it's hard. There was nothing, and they put on a good show, like they always do. Everyone involved, Nikita Zoo trained his ass off for it. He got for nothing, or everything, mate. So it cost Tim Zoo trouble. It cost Nikita Zoo trouble. Let's just get the fuck out of boxing now. Do OnlyFans or do something. No, I'm honest, man. And as I said, I've always said, but if it's, I'm sick of all this mental health shit. Like I said with John McAllister, fucking poor me. Mate, if you're a fighter and you put yourself out there like he does, to be the villain, to talk it up, to bag Tim Zoo, to say Ricky Zerafa or Ricky Hatton's coming, whatever
Hatton,
about Costa Mickey Hatton, you put yourself out there, you're going to get people that love you, people that hate you. You just take it on the chin. Mental health, poor me. Mate, who gives a fuck? When you're in boxing and you're on a platform doing media and you go into a ring in front of thousands of people, you have to have a thick skin. It is what it is. Just take it. You quit, you dogged it, and you got found out. And that's it. Now, not saying you're a bad person, but you're a liar and you didn't want to fight. Simple.
Yep.
You always mouthed about Tim Zoo so much. You went on about Tim. And here he was quitting against his brother. So that's it now. All the outlets shouldn't give you no more tell time and whatever, man. That's it. Like I said, mental health stuff, like I said today. My grandfather in World War II getting bombed by the Japs in Papua New Guinea. Don't think he had mental health. I've lost both my parents. I held my mother's hand dying of cancer. Everyone's different, I know that. But my mental health's fine. Why? Because I'm a real man. And that's it. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but I'm a man. I'm a fighter. in the ring and out of the ring. And, mate, I'm sick of this feel sorry for me bullshit. So that's it. Fuck off.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think, and you're right about, I think if you suffer the whole mental health thing, I think you're in the wrong sport. You shouldn't be in a sport like boxing where it's all about, being mentally strong. And I think when it comes to a lot of it as well, a lot of it's instinct. Now, you talked about with Michael before, his first instinct was to quit. I mean, we'll call it for what it is, was to quit. Tim Zoo's first instinct was, I'm fine. All these fighters you spoke about before, the first instinct, and I agree with you. I would never have entered, I don't think, to the thought to quit. So the first instinct of, I suppose, a real fighter is just to continue on and lie if you have to. His first instinct was to say, no, that's okay. Well, let's just call it a night then. And that's what I think is
but he's been a fighter. He's been in hard fights. He has. He's gotten up against Jeff Horn. So he's not.
That second Jeff Horn fight, mate. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so Michael does have a heart and he can fight. I don't know what went on that night. So he's shown it that he's been to that level. He's been to the bigger level than me. I'm not going to say, I'm not knocking him there, but we can only go about that night. And that night, it was that night. Not him, his whole career, because he had a good career. But it is what it is. Let's get on to my announcement now, Lynden.
Yes, sorry, mate. Yeah, we've been going for a while about. All right, so I mentioned before to everyone that take two, Terence Bud Crawford is coming back. Let us know the ins and outs, mate. What made you made the decision to bring him back, and why does he want to come back to Australia? Besides, probably seen a bit of the sights this time, unlike last time.
Well, that's it, mate. I did promise him that this time he'll be able to do more. That was my first time doing that last time, and I crammed in a million events and I worked him hard. But he said the Tazzy tour was harder than the Canelo fight. So believe that.
The press tour, yeah.
So anyway, we're bringing him back. He's got to do some fishing and a bit of stuff. But he's in Sydney on March the 30th and 31st. Got a few events there. There'll be a few meet and greets, chances to meet him, which I will announce soon. Hit me up on Instagram if you want to know personally. But before we announce it, to get early bird specials, any sponsorship packages, jump on board. If you want to be part of you want your business name part of the Terence Crawford tour, you want him to have him visit your business or plug his on social media. So 30th of March and the 31st of March, I got him in Mount Druitt. And we're doing a celebrity basketball game. Terence Bud Crawford, Billy Dibb, Anthony Mundine, Nick Kyrgios, hopefully the Volk, Alex Volkanovski.
Oh, wow.
6 teams, 3-on-3. It's great for all the great community in Mount Druitt. Then we come to Melbourne, April 1st and April 2nd. April 1st, we're at Cavello and the Derrimut Gym. And then April 2nd, an event at the Pavilion. Different to last time, not a sit-down dinner, no table. It's going to be him in the ring, being interviewed by a special MC, which is not myself this time. And then it's going to be rows of chairs, so much ahead for the first few rows. You get a photo with him, and then general admission where you can sit there and listen and watch him. So that's going to be great. So he arrives March 30th and he flies out Easter Good Friday on April 3rd.
So I think you said it's going to be more sort of, well, not that it was not fan friendly last time, but a real more sort of affordable.
Yes, it will be. It will be a lot more affordable. Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot more affordable. Well, I'll tell you now, the first few rows are going to be $250 and you get a photo and a meet and greet. And then the other rows will just be about $100 general. Get to watch the thing, get to listen to him, see him in the flesh, but no photo. So it's pretty affordable.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Well, that's great because I mean, you need to make money to pay for him. I'm gathering he's not cheap, so I know that's probably having a cross between making enough money, but also giving everyone out there a chance to meet him.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where sponsors come in, to be able to help be part of the tour. So we can do these affordable for the people. So look, twice within a year, Terence will be here. I'm not guaranteeing when he'll come back. So this is your ticket. If you didn't see him last time, come and see him now. If you didn't know him before, after he beat Canelo quite convincingly on Netflix, you definitely know him now. So I'm honoured to be able to bring this back to you guys And Terence is the first of three big names I'm bringing in 226. The other two, you'll have to wait and see.
Oh, that's great, mate. Well, I mean, it's fantastic that you're able to bring not only Terence Crawford over, but all these other stars you've got coming in. Because I'm assuming you can't just sort of message them and say, hey, do you want to come to Australia? You've got to put in the work to actually get to know them and meet them and obviously put the groundwork in.
Yeah, that's it, Leonard. 1,000,000%, mate. So, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to have Bub back, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so what's he want to get up to while he's here? Does he want to do anything in particular apart from fish, or what does he want to do? See the sights?
Not really. So I like to see fish and probably go in the bush a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bit like Roy Jones Jr. He likes the fishing in the bush. He's more with the land, you know what I mean? And yeah, he's not into the fancy cars. He can buy all that stuff. He's really down to earth.
How was he to speak to now that he's about $100 million richer than last time you spoke to him, or with last time
The same. He's the same. Exactly the same. No change.
He sort of seems like the type of guy who would just mingle in with the crowd and have his backpack on and just get on the plane and come over and just cruise.
That's
through.
him. Definitely, that is Bud Crawford. Nah, none of that. Nah.
So now I know you can't drop the names yet, and I'm sure you will in time. But when are you looking at bringing the next sort of superstar over?
June, July, September, October for the next two.
All right. Okay, so again, just mention the tickets, mate. Where does everyone get ticket from for this event?
Well, just contact me for now. I'm going to let everyone know the event times and that, but just hit me up, guys, and and we'll go from there. Or stay tuned and just go to my pages and you'll see everything advertised. Yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Well, no, we really appreciate you coming on, guys. If you haven't seen Tazzy's interview with Jay McAllister, make sure you check it out on YouTube. Also, your YouTube channel, mate, The Ringside with Tazzy. What's the latest episode you got
out? The great Roberto Diaz, former Golden Boy matchmaker, legend, the current manager of Lamont Roach. And yeah, that's a great episode. So check that out. And guys, just keep following boxing, keep supporting all the Aussie boxers, keep supporting Lynden and everyone. And let's make Australia great again. Let's bring the real alpha men back. Let's bring, don't let them emasculate men. Women like masculine men. Let's go out and catch and kill our own like the caveman guys. Let's bring it back, full-blooded, red-hot, Australian males. No more poor me. Let's get it up, guys. Come on. Get up, son. Come on, Australia.
Thanks for coming on, mate. And we'll catch up soon.
Boom. Mate. Thank you.
There is Grant Tazzy Brown. Maybe they'll make a movie about Tazzy one day. It'll be an entertaining movie, wouldn't it? He's probably got a few chapters to write yet, hasn't he? But make sure you support Tazzy with the Terence Crawford thing. I mean, how good is it to be able to bring Terence Bud Crawford to Australia, not once but twice? I think it's awesome, and Tazzy has told me a couple of other names that might be coming, but of course I'm not going to betray that trust. But they'll be big names, so fantastic news for all boxing fans out there, and I think it's great that he's gone down this approach where it's going to be more about the fans rather than the corporates, even though the corporates are fans as well. But to have just the average person out there that can get a photo and hear what he has to say, I think it's fantastic. So maybe you might videotape the night and put it on YouTube or something afterwards so we can see what he has to say. But all the best to Tazzy with that. And jump on his Instagram if you want more information about the tickets. All right. We've got a show to get on with. We've got a few comments to go through. We'll go to Drew. How are you, Drew? The Usyk fight against Van Hoven is obscure, to say the very least, but I question whether it would really bring in more eyeballs than a Cabiel or Wardley fight, and will the fight be profitable enough? Well, that's the thing, Drew. I mean, I'm assuming you would think that the Saudis will be bankrolling it, so it's probably a little bit like the Conor Benn thing where they'll be paying Usyk his purse. Let's not forget they've got an endless river of money. But you're right. I mean, how is a fight with this Van Hoven guy, probably 99% of boxing fans have never heard of, how is that better than choosing a Cabiel or a Wardley or even a Wilder or even Chisora, who was already beaten a boxing guy, even though I think most people would not begrudge Alexander Usyk, just as I said before, just having a bit of a gimme fight, a bit of a softer fight. But geez, there's plenty of soft guys out there, actual boxers that are known to boxing fans that he could fight rather than fighting a kickboxer that I've never heard of. And as I said before, I mean, some guy on Instagram, YouTube, getting all bent out of shape because I didn't know who he was. Why would I know who he is? I'm a boxing fan. Okay, I barely even know who the UFC fighters are, let alone a kickboxer. I didn't even know kickboxing was still even around, to be honest. All due respect to the kickboxers out there and the Muay Thai fighters and everything, but I'm a boxing guy. Couldn't not care less about kickboxing. So why am I going to support this fight? And why would I do my research into a guy that has no relevance in our sport? Anyway, all right. Still with Drew. I really hope Zerafa can potentially offer Opataya an immediate shot at Michelanian after he beats Galanton. The excuses must be wearing thin on Jai's emotions. Yeah, well, Jai did say, Drew, that he expects this year to have a unification fight. So whether that's with Benavides or Zerdo or Michelanian, I think the odds are probably Michelanian. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. I always pronounce it wrong. But he expects a unification fight this year. So if he doesn't get it, I would think that Jai will be saying, hey, guys, please explain. It doesn't probably matter, though. He's probably contracted for the next few years, so it's not going to matter. But look, I think the thing is, part of the whole thing of Jai coming over to Zerafa would have been, I want unification fights and I want to be able to fight for the belt. So I reckon they've made an exception for Jai, and I reckon they might make exception for the first few stars they bring on, because Conor Ben's even mentioned about fighting for the WBC belt. So I've got a feeling that there'll be a fair bit of leeway for the first 2 or 3 years, and then they might start to tighten the clamps as far as what their fighters can and can't do. So I'm with you there, mate. I really hope they get him that immediate shot. All right, one last one from Drew. After rehydrating, Navarrete looked huge compared to Nunes, like they were from different weight divisions. I must admit, Navarrete did use his reach advantage well at times. Yeah, well, that was the first thing, Drew, that I sort of noticed was how big Navarrete looked. I'm with you. He looked at least 3 divisions higher. I thought he just looked huge, like height and reach and size and everything like that. And I was disappointed in Nunes's performance, Drew. I know he got busted up with the eye and everything else, but before that, I don't think he started the fight well. I thought he was too negative from the get-go. He gave away the first 3 or 4 rounds, and then when he started to sort of get warmed up, Navarrete sort of found his range, and it was just sort of a matter of time. But Navarrete had the nutritionist and everything else involved in his camp this time, so maybe going forward he'll continue to have that, because he looked fantastic. So, and he did use his reach and his strength and everything he used. I mean, he's the most awkward fighter you'll ever see, but geez, how effective is he? He makes some really good-looking fighters, I mean, stylistically, look very, very ordinary. He just nullifies whoever he's in with. So he'd be a tough guy to fight. Ryan. Sorry, just on that too, by the way. Sorry, Big Joe. I just sort of seen your comment there about Tazzy with his Mount Rushmore. Sorry about that. I'll get him to comment another time. All right. Moses Otama should have a strap by the end of 2026, in my opinion. Well, it depends who he's going to fight, Ryan. I mean, let's have a quick look at the rankings. So he is ranked number 1 with the WBA and the WBO. You would think that well, it depends on what happens with Usyk, whether he fights Wardley next. If he doesn't, you might think that Wardley might fight Otama. It's one good thing you'll say about Wardley is he doesn't back away from anybody, and I think he would relish the chance to fight Otama in a big All England fight, or maybe Fury could be thrown in the mix as well. Wardley and Fury makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Or or Dubois and Fury. So that might be the go if Fury can't get Joshua or Usyk. You'd think he would fight either Wardley or Dubois next. But who else is there? So doesn't look like he's going to get a shot at Alexander Usyk this year. So he doesn't get Wardley. Where is he ranked with the others? Number 4 with the WBC, but that's also Usyk, obviously. And then he's ranked number 12 with the IBF, which is, again, Alexander Usyk's belt. So, yeah, I'm not so sure I am, but we'll see. Maybe it could be an interim strap or something like that. Maybe. We'll see. And speaking of Otama, he's fighting Jermaine Franklin on the 28th of this month. I believe that goes 4 rounds, if that. I think he should get the winner of Worldy Dubois. Yeah. I agree. I think he stops Franklin. No problems there. Should he get the winner of Worldy and Dubois? As I said, I think it depends a lot on what happens with Tyson Fury. I think if Anthony Joshua takes longer than expected or doesn't want the fight with Fury, Usyk sort of mentioned that he's not really interested in a third Fury fight, not at least at this stage anyway. I think it makes 100% sense that he would fight the winner of Wardley and Dubois. And look, you've got Fury, Joshua, Wardley, Dubois, and Itoma. 5 English heavyweights that could all have super fights against each other. I think, is there any more? I suppose you could throw Chisora in there as well. But it's all about the English heavyweights at the moment, isn't it? So some big fights to be made there. Drew, I heard that Lomachenko, not Lemonchenko, could be coming out of retirement for one fight only. Could it possibly be against the legally embattled Tank Davis? I heard rumours about that a while ago, Drew, not recently, but this is a few months back that he could be coming back, but he actually poured cold water on that. I know money can do wonderful things. Tank Davis would be a good fight, I suppose, or would it? I mean, is it really a fight that the fans out there would be really asking for? I would think if Shakur Stevenson went down to 135, that fight with Lomachenko would be a super fight. But I'm just not sure Tank Davis has got any real appeal anymore. I think the fans have sort of almost forgotten about him, and I think that people don't really care about him anymore. I think he's just too much or too many problems involved with Tank Davis. So I'd be really surprised if it was Tank. It could be, but I just don't see how Lomachenko would come back for if you call it a big money fight with Tank Davis, because would it be? Would the fans really jump on board for that? Would the promoters get behind it? There's not that Saudi money there because Tank Davis has made no secret he doesn't want to sign with the Saudis. I think a Shakur Stevenson fight would make a lot more sense than Tank Davis. But I mean, I think the last few weeks have shown us, Drew, that you never rule anything out, do you? Because you might wake up the next morning and there's a headline, Lomachenko and Tank Davis, going to fight at Niagara Falls or something. I mean, over on a suspended ring above the falls or something. That's the the route that we seem to be going, doesn't it? But yeah, I'd be surprised if Lomachenko came back for Tank Davis, who hasn't been active, hasn't been very impressive. I think his appeal is really dimmed, and that's why I'm not quite sure. But you never know. You never know. All right, still with Drew. I've heard rumblings that if Tim wins his tune-up and then beats Spence, he could be in line for a title shot. Based on merit, he doesn't deserve one so soon, but money and name profile could be key. I had a nice conversation with Mike Altamura last week. I probably can't divulge too much. It was just, Mike just gave me a call just to say good day, and we speak like mates, so I can't give too much away. Obviously Spence is looking to be next, but I wouldn't just pencil it in just yet because, it hasn't been signed, sealed, and delivered yet. That is the aim. So the one thing Mike sort of did say is that, when they wanted the fight, Tim wanted the fight, has been pushed back a month or two since the original date that they first looked at, and they're a little bit unsure about why. Whether it's to do with him starting his camp and maybe not being where he wants to be at, I don't know. But if you're Tim's team, why wouldn't you aim for a title shot? If the Spence fight does or doesn't come off, doesn't really matter, because all of a sudden the 154-pound division is not really it is the same division, but it's not ruled by those sort of really fearsome type of fighters. I mean, if let's just say Thurman beats Fundora, which is possible, unlikely, but it's possible. We could have Keith Thurman, Josh Kelly, and Xander Zayas as the world champions. There's no Bakram Murtazaliev anymore. Virgil Ortiz is not there with a belt yet. Boots Ennis hasn't got a belt yet. Actually, let's have a quick look at the 154-pounders. So who else have we got there? Well, it's not really no one else is there, I suppose. Well, Madrimov hasn't got a belt. What's his name? Was not the one I'm thinking of? Starts with B. What's his name? Where's he ranked? He's okay. He's doing that well. He's not ranked. Where is he? Geez, there you go. The one that lost to, or the beat Brian Mendoza. What's his name again? Where is he? So he's not even ranked anymore. So he's out of the rankings. Hang on. Sorry to take up your time here, guys, but I need to find it. Beracek, not ranked by any of the organisations at 154 now. There you go. Not ranked by any of them. And he was the interim champion there at one stage. Well, unless he's now ranked at 160. Doesn't look like he's either anyway. All right, I'm going to move on. I'm just talking to myself. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But what I'm trying to say is the belt holders after the end of this month could not or might not be as fearsome as it was about 6 months ago, because we could have Thurman, Zayos, and Kelly, and I think Tim and his team would back themselves to beat any of those guys. Whether that's the case or not remains to be seen, but I don't think they would sweat any of those guys if the opportunity came up. So all of a sudden, you just got to wait for the right opportunity. I'm with you, by the way, there, Drew. He doesn't deserve it based on merit, but when does that matter? When does that matter that you actually deserve a fight on merit? That's in this day and age more. We've just had a kickboxer who's had one fight about to fight for the heavyweight championship. So merit and whether you deserve or not means nothing these days. So if he gets a shot against any of those three guys, of course you'd have to take it. All right, Asbot. Hi, lads. Any updates on Tim's next opponent? Also, is it just me or is it boxing more of a hot mess lately than it normally is? Well, I can't divulge too much on Tim's next opponent. Asbot, Peter Bedell, he knows who it is. Mike obviously knows who it is, but we can't say too much at the moment. I'm sure it'll be announced very, very soon. I think it's going to be, it's going to be in April at some stage, isn't it? I'm not sure whether they're going to keep that same date. We'll see. I didn't really go into too much about the dates of his next fight. I think it is going to be in Wollongong, though, from what I've sort of seen, read, heard, whatever it might be. Shouldn't be too far away, though, Asbot. But it's a hot mess, all right. This is boxing. But it's never been more exciting. It's never been, I don't think, more proactive in what's going on. But you're right. It's never been more of a hot mess than what it is now. I mean, we've got Mayweather-Pacquiao 2. We've got Usyk and this kickboxer guy. I mean, we've got Conor Ben leaving Matchroom to go to Zerafa and having $15 million to fight on an undercard. Although I have heard that that's not the $15 million fight. That's going to come later. It's just they've just given him an in-between fight in the meantime. Keep him active, keep him paid. Who knows what's going to happen? So, as I said before, we could have a fight, above Niagara Falls. We could have one. Well, they were going to have one at Alcatraz. They've got the UFC having the one at the White House. Who knows? They've got one in the pyramids in Giza. Anything is possible there, Asbot. And I'm with you. It's a mess, but I think it's just a matter of everyone just trying to outdo each other at the moment. So, and I think Turki Al-Sheikh has made no secret that he wants to have fights at all of these exotic sort of locations. But I did say that yesterday or the day before, boxing fans are very easy to please. He doesn't need to do all this stuff. Do we really care whether they fight in Times Square? If anything, that was a disaster. The idea of fighting in Times Square, it's like, wow, that's a pretty cool idea. Well, what they didn't tell us was it was going to be in a little sectioned off area with about 100 people in the crowd. And it just looked stupid. And the fighters, there was no atmosphere. I mean, are we really surprised that the fighters got in the ring that night and fought probably the most uninspired fights you've ever seen in your life? Are we surprised by that? Of course we aren't. So I'm not sure. I mean, again, that Times Square fight card where you've got the guys in hotel rooms, wherever it was, getting picked up by cars and driven down the street and dropped off on the footpath of Times Square to walk into the ring. I mean, it's just bizarre. And I get that they're trying to take the sport to another level as far as entertainment goes. I understand it. But what they don't realise, and this is sort of baffles me because Turki Al-Sheikh is supposedly a boxing fan, we don't need this. We just want the best fighting the best at the best time. So, and we certainly don't want a kickboxer fighting the heavyweight champion. And look, there might be a place for the Pacquiao Mayweather 2s of the world. That's okay. If we look at it for what it is, there's a similar age. It's a rematch that should have happened years ago. Pay them the money, whatever. You want to watch. If you don't. It has no real relevance on the boxing world. But the Usyk fight does. It's the heavyweight champion fighting a kickboxer with one fight. I've said it 10 times. I'll probably say it another 10 times before the episode's over. But geez, come on. The Mayweather-Pacquiao thing doesn't hurt anybody. The Joshua-Paul fight didn't really hurt anybody. But the Usyk fight does. So, anyway. All right, Shadow Boxer. Hang on a sec. All right, I personally feel Usyk has earned the right to do what he wants at this stage of his career. Okay, well, there's a different spin on things. Does it mean I'm happy about his next fight? No, but I'm not mad at the guy. He did it all on the road too. Now, I'll agree with the first part of your comment there, Shadow Boxer. He's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do at this stage of his career. No problem. Give the belts up. You do not deserve, no matter who you are, to decide to fight a guy that's not ranked anywhere in any organisation, let alone the WBC who are sanctioning the fight. So that's probably where I've got to disagree with you, Shadow Boxer. Yes, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants, and he can do whatever he wants. But he hasn't earned the right. No one has earned the right ever to be able to have this type of fight. If you want to have that fight, no problem. Do it in a non-title fight. Give up the belts, whatever it might be. He has not earned the right to have this fight with the kickboxer. Or, sorry, the other way. He hasn't earned the right to have the WBC saying, that's okay, Alexander Usyk, we'll make this a title fight. No, he hasn't earned that. If he wants to take this step-aside fight like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury did with Ngannou, no problem. Actually, I don't think Joshua was a champion, was he? But Fury was. He stepped aside and did the fight. No problem. He's probably earned the right as well. No issue. Do it in a non-title fight. But at the same time, live up to your mandatory, live up to your voluntaries, whatever it might be. As long as they're still in check, go and do what you want. No problem. But no, he hasn't earned the right to have the WBC belt or any other belt on the line against this type of opponent. And I'm not happy about it either, mate. So he's done it all. And what he has earned, Shadow Boxer, is the ability to fight a softer guy. So, and all the sanctioning bodies I would expect it to be able to say, okay, we'll let you fight. I don't know. I know Chisora was fighting Wilder, but if he was going to fight Wilder or even a Chisora or whoever it might be, okay, he's probably earned to say, well, I'll fight a boxer that's actually ranked in one of those organizations. That's my soft fight. That's what I've earned the right to do, not this. All right. Cal, who's Tim going to fight? Any news on Paro? Don't know about Tim, as I said. Cal, any news on Paro? No. Well, I asked Mike. He didn't know. He obviously doesn't take care of Liam Paro. He didn't mention anything about where he's at. He just went, I don't know. I'm just worried about Tim at this stage. So, which is what he's been employed to do. So, no, mate, I don't know anything about Liam Paro. I did see that, is it Paddy Donovan has been ordered to fight an interim fight. I can't remember who it was against. Who was it against? Or was it? No. Oh, is it? Oh, no. I'm not gonna guess. But sure, someone out there knows. But Paddy Donovan is fighting an eliminator, and the winner of that will fight the winner of Paro and Crocker. All right, Tony, the Dutch monster, Rico Verhoeven is going to fight Alexander Usyk. Yep, so as we've said, Rico, no pushover. He's an amazing boxer, so be a real cracker. Hey, I don't care if it's a real cracker, Tony. Could be fight of the century. Doesn't mean he's earned the fight, mate. Should not be happening. This is my opinion. And from all accounts, the people have either I've spoken to or sent me messages or commented on posts, whatever it might be, have said, hey, he's a great fighter, and I don't doubt that he is. I just go back to what is going on in the sport. He does not deserve a crack at the World Heavyweight Championship. It might be the fight of the century. Still doesn't make it right. What do you got here, Eminem? Have I missed a comment there, have I? Charlie Sr. Can you explain how he was born in the UK and by all accounts lives there now? All 4 of his pro fights have been there, but he represented Australia at the Olympics. I have no idea there, Eminem. It's a good question, though. Again, does it surprise you, though, Eminem? He probably didn't make the Olympic team with the Poms, so he's come to Australia. That's a good question. I don't know. I didn't realise that was the case, actually, with Charlie Sr. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, well, Billy Pokinghorn's out here now, but did he represent England or represented Australia at the Commonwealth Games? I can't remember. But I didn't really take much notice of the Commonwealth Games, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's a good question, Eminem. I don't know. All right, Tony, hypothetical situation. You're caught up in a pub brawl and you're badly outnumbered. Which two Aussie boxers do you want on each side, mate? Current or present? It doesn't matter. Just two hard nuts. Ooh, that's a good question, Tony. Pub brawl with two Aussie boxers. Well, can I put Isaac Harbin in there? I mean, I know he's technically a brawler now, but he's still a boxer, isn't he? I definitely have the head splitter beside me. No problems whatsoever. He'd be great beside you. That's a good question. I won't bring up the radar. Nikita would probably be a good one to have beside. Oh, no, Jai Pataya, of course. Jai Pataya, I mean, he'd just take the lot out by himself. He'd get the Terminator music sort of going and he'd iron all of them out. So definitely Jai Pataya and Isaac head splitter Hardman. Yep, definitely, mate. So they're the two I'd have. Eminem, yep, Jai Pataya fight week. How exciting. No more exciting boxer right now in world boxing. Always pure brutality. Love it. Yeah, love Jai Pataya. Yeah, this will test him though, Eminem. I mean, it's a tough fight. He should win pretty comfortably, but out of your comfort zone in America, the bright lights, the pressure's going to be on. That can do weird and wonderful things to different people. So Glanton will go in there with nothing to lose. So I think it'll be tough. But I would expect Jai to win pretty comfortably there, mate. So, but I can't wait to see Jai Pataya front and center stage, Zerafa bout, all that sort of stuff, all the attention on him in the bright lights of Las Vegas. Don't worry about the fact it's in the garage at the training center. The fact is in Vegas. All the, I think the Aussie crowd's still there. Was the rugby the weekend gone? I'm not sure. I didn't watch it. But all the rugby league supporters were there last week, and they were at Fremont Street. He would have felt like he was walking on air last week, Jai Pataya, and he deserves it. He really does. So can't wait to see him fight, which will be next Monday, our time. So be odd time to watch it. So but doesn't matter. We'll all be there supporting Jai Pataya. What do you got there, Naz? Oh, but with Tazzy. Okay, great news, bud, coming back to Australia and loves the last 5 minutes when he went into full Tazzy mode. Also looks like he's in Jay's corner versus Big J. Well, he is, Naz. He did say he'd back Jay. I'm not sure whether you saw that. Big J. It was a good interview too, yeah. And the 5 minutes, yeah, it's like, and Tazzy can do that. It's like, well, I'm just talking like this, and then I'm going to talk like this. And get out of my way because I'll chin you. He can just go from 0 to 100 in about 1 second flat, Tazzy Brown. So where are we? Eminem. Yep. Kermel Merton fought on the weekend. Now 9-0, 7 Ks. Yeah, I didn't watch that fight, Eminem. I missed the first couple. He's a good young prospect, Eminem, Kermel Merton, and I think I've mentioned on here before that we saw him spar Cooper O'Connell in Vegas when we were there, and let's just say that Cooper gave as good as he got. I know it's only sparring, but actually caught Kermel Merton with some really good shots, and vice versa. So great spar. You would have paid money to see that one. All right, Naz. Hang on. We've gone by that one. All right. Good wins by Moton and Charlie Sr. on the weekend. Moton could be anything if he stays active. And Charlie Sr. has some skills. He's adapted to the pro style well. Yes. Again, I didn't see the fights there, Naz, but by all accounts, they were very impressive. Glenn Tankard. How are you, Glenn? What do you got there, mate? Navarrete fights so well off the ropes. Is it because he has that extra reach advantage like Fundora? He has a strong chin for sure. Well, that's the thing, Glenn. You can't hurt the guy. I know Liam Wilson knocked him down. The only fighter to do that, by the way. But I was saying to D-Style this morning is that he's a type of guy you can't sort of back off and let him come to you because he's just too tall and long reach, and he's a big, strong guy. So it's really hard to fight from distance. He's also hard to fight in close because he just rips in those little sneaky uppercuts and hooks as well. My theory to beating him would be to sort of be within his range, but just look to counter him. It's all you're going to do. Make him punch first, make him stick out one of those long sort of awkward jabs, and then try and come over the top with the right hand or something like that. Time his awkwardness, and he's not the most graceful type of fighter. He's very predictably unpredictable, if that makes sense. Like, you know he's going to be all over the place, but you just don't know what he's going to throw. So I would think let's wait for one of those uppercuts that come from the floor. Very, very easy to sort of read sometimes. Let's wait for one of those and try and counter him with a hook and beat him to the punch or counter him, whatever it might be. But I think that's the way you can beat him because he's a very, very hard guy to do any any good against. What do we got there? Got a couple of super chats. We'll start with Andy. $10. Thank you very much, mate. Congratulations to all the deserved winners over the weekend. Shout out to Tazzy Brown. Yep, subscribe, share, smash that like. Smash the like button, please, folks. Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. We've got another one from Ed. Thank you very much, Ed. Another $10. Really appreciate it, mate. Salute as always. Glad to catch the show before it ended. Got to watch the replay early AM here. Salute to the chat. Well, thanks very much for tuning in, Ed. Great to have you over there, mate. I was on D-Style this morning. Next time I'm actually going to be on, I might put it out there so people like yourself can actually watch it on American time, not Australian time. So really appreciate it there, mate. Awesome stuff. All right, we'll get back to the comments here. So I can find my way. All right. I have a strong suspicion, says Drew, that if Benavides beats Zerdo, he'll probably go back down to light heavyweight for a higher profile and bigger money fight with Bivol than fight Jay. Well, I think he's made no secret, Drew, that that's the fight that he wants. Because, I mean, we want him to fight Jai. We want him to fight him. And because he's a big star over here, obviously, and you know we obviously want to see that fight. It'd be a great fight, but I mean, you got to look at it through the eyes of Benavides and his team. Is that Zerdo is obviously the bigger fight now, and Bivol or Better Be, but definitely bigger fights for Benavides as well. So, while I think Jai is the best fight out of all of those fights, I can understand why Benavides is looking at those guys first, but if he can't get Bivol or Better Bev, I think he might reconsider and stay at cruiserweight and fight Jai. I mean, Jai's obviously got to get past Glanton and whoever else has got to beat whoever, or obviously Benavides has got to beat Zerdo. But I think Benavides is definitely eyeing off Jai down the track. I just think and agree with that he's looking at Bivol first. I mean, he's gone from 168 to 175 for these type of fights. He's had a couple of wins down there, obviously, but I think he definitely wants Bivol. Bivol's got a fight coming up soon, too, with Efert. So I think if Bivol beats Efert and Benavides beats Zerdo, I mean, I wouldn't blame, I won't be happy about it, but I can understand Benavides going down to 175 and fighting Bivol. So, and then maybe looking at Jai, because I don't think Better Beav is going to be around for too long. I've got a feeling if he can't get a big fight with these guys, he might even just retire. But it's still back Bivol and Better Beef to do it at some stage, but again, I don't. If Better Beef can't get that fight with Bivol, I think he retires. All right, Glenn told you Dargan would retire shotgun. I'd watched her spar. One of my girls did some rounds with her. I knew she was going to be too much for Shannon. Yeah, it was. Look, I didn't doubt that Chanel Dargan could beat Shannon. And any fight. Anything is possible, but I didn't expect it the way it happened there, Glenn. I did speak to Shannon over the weekend about the fight, and she just said, look, it just wasn't there. She wasn't down about it at all. Normally, if Shannon loses the fight, she's really down in the dumps. But she said, look, like she was in the interview afterwards, she said, oh, look, I just couldn't get going. Normally, when the music starts playing and I get in the ring, I switch on and away we go. She's normally a fighter that really takes some pushing to get out there. She's very, like a lot of fighters do. I was the same. You sort of get out the back and your team have got to sort of push you into the ring. You don't want to go out there, but once you get in there, then you perform. But she said, this time I just couldn't switch on. She said, and the punches hurt a lot. And Chanel Dargan, while she's improved a hell of a lot, is not a big puncher. And she said, look, I've been hit by bigger punches and got through okay. But as soon as I started to wear them from Chanel, she said, they just hurt. And she said, I knew that this was probably going to be my last fight. So, and full credit to Chanel Dargan, by the way, though, Glenn. She was fantastic. She's improved so much. I think that's 6 wins in a row for her now. And good on her. She deserved the win. Shannon was full of praise for Chanel Dargan as well. And wished her all the best. And, yeah, good on her, Glenn. She's obviously worked really hard in camp on some things. I wasn't that impressed with her in her earlier fights in her career. I thought she'd just be domestic level at best, but you know, maybe she could be in line for a world title shot down the line, and full credit to her. As I said, she's worked hard, and best of luck to her for the rest of her career. Glenn says, also said from the word go that the Turk isn't what everyone thought he was going to be. Yeah, well, I commented on this yesterday or the day before as well, Glenn, about Turki Al-Sheikh, and he's just started to veer off track. All these fights, you know, the Usyk fight and these other the Times Square fights and all this other stuff that he's talking about now, the Zerafa thing and all that stuff. I think he's just lost track of what endeared him to boxing fans when he first started, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was. He's just he continues to almost try and outdo himself and come up with different ideas on different things. I think he's spreading himself way too thin at the moment as well. I think if he just gets back to what he started at the start of when he came on board, just solid cards from top to bottom with a A1 type of main event, that's all he needs to do. He doesn't need Times Square fights. He doesn't need fights at the Pyramid featuring a crossover fight. He doesn't need to do it. It's so easy for him to take over boxing, but I'll tell you what, he's doing his best to alienate the fans, because I haven't seen many positive responses about the kickboxer fight in the last few days. So he could easily take over kickboxing. He's got the money to do it. He's got the contacts. He's got everything. So everyone on board. He's got his little puppets out there working for him. He could easily be, I suppose he's the kingpin of boxing, but it could be a case of where it's not even a contest. He's still got some promoters out there nipping at his heels. So, and I don't know why he's allowed the Zerafa thing to sort of exist if they want the UFC type of model. Could have easily done it himself. The Riyadh season cards or the ring cards, I know they've all got numbers after them now. That should have been the UFC equivalent. The ring series, ring 1, 2, 3 and onwards. That should have been it. Forget this Zerafa bullshit. Should have been the ring series, and he could have got all those boxers. It would have been a lot easier as well when you think about it, to get all the gunfighters in the world who are out there probably scratching their head going, it's a lot of money and this is going on and that's going on, but do I really want to go to this Zerafa or whatever the hell it's called? But if it was called the Ring Boxing Organisation or whatever you might want to call it, I got a feeling a lot of people would want to join that. It'd be a lot easier sell than the Zerafa model. And he had the model ready to go. He could have easily just started to phase out the sanctioning body belt and just had him fight for the ring belt. And let's face it, Ajay Patara, I'm pretty sure, even though he wants unification, would have probably said, well, geez, if the ring belt is the belt that we're only going to fight for and that's it, and I'm not going to worry about that, I reckon he'd almost be content with that. Because the ring belt is almost the undisputed belt, isn't it? It's almost the unwritten undisputed belt. If you've got the ring belt, you are the champion, regardless of all the other belts. So I think it would have been a lot easier sell than the Zerafa thing to just have the ring boxing organisation or whatever they might want to call it, and just have the ring belt and say, we're not recognising the other belts anymore. It is the ring belt and that is it. I think they would have been would have been a lot easier to sell to the current boxers out there. So he just didn't need or doesn't need to do what he's doing at the moment. I just think he's trying to spread himself too thin and create too many different things for fans. I mean, just as I said, he could have just had the ring and that would have been it. The ring series and the Riyadh season, and that is it. And he would have taken over boxing. He still might do it, but yeah, he wouldn't have needed to back this whole Zerafa thing that he's got behind. Big J, good to see the chump getting all the big interviews, but all he really needs to do is sign the contract, still hiding behind his mother's skirt. Well, he's got Tazzy on his side now, mate. Tazzy thinks he's going to whoop you. Ray Lee, how are you, Ray Lee? Evening all. What did you think about the Quintana stoppage? I thought it was a tad early, Ray Lee, but I think I haven't seen the scorecards. I'm assuming that Vargas was winning pretty easily, but he wasn't happy, was he? I think, what was it, the 8th round or whatever it was? I think he hadn't been really knocked around. He hadn't really been hurt. I think they should have let it go, Ray Lee. I think Vargas would have won the fight, but the guy's come from Argentina. He's given a really, really good account of himself. Let the guy see out the distance, I think. It wasn't like he was getting battered. It was a competitive fight. So, yeah, I didn't think it was a good one at all, Ray Lee. Ado, I can't help but think Jai will make a statement in his US debut. I know Glanton has never been KO'd, but if anyone can do it, it's definitely Jai. What are your thoughts on the outcome? I think Glanton will be tough, Ado, but I don't think he's competitive against Jai. I think Jai wins it very comfortably. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to the scorecards, Ado, but if it does, I think Jai wins 11 rounds to 1, 10 rounds to 2, something like that. I think it'll be one-sided. Can he stop Glanton? Probably. But I think the main thing for Jai will be, well, I was just going to say maybe the aim would be to look impressive, but don't take too many risks. Just get through, look good. But on the other hand, too, Jai's going to want to make a statement. He's going to want to have his first American fight over there and really have that highlight reel KO. So I'm going to go with points 8-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jai gets him out of there at some stage. What's that, Big J? Surely Tazzy backs me for the win over the chump. Negative, Big J. He's backing the chump. Ray Lee, Vargas looks promising for bigger fights in the future. Being so young, he has time. Yeah, well, he's only 21 years of age. He's had 17 fights, I think now, 17 or 18 fights. He looks good, Ray Lee, but he did show a little bit of immaturity at times. And I think he was made to pay a few times. He was hit with punches he probably shouldn't really be getting hit with. But it comes from sometimes you've been in easy fight after easy fight after easy fight, and you get used to being able to do what you want, and all of a sudden you get in there with an opponent who doesn't let you do what you want and makes you pay if you make mistakes. So I think it's a really good learning curve for him. This is why you have those type of fights. So I think they're guiding him along really well. I think his dad has said that he was sort of pushed along way too quickly for a young guy after the Olympics. I think he might only been, 19 or 20 when he went to the Olympics. In my division, by the way, I think I've said that about 10 times. Almost fought him at the 96 Olympics. But I think he said that he would rather him take his time. I mean, Emiliano actually said after the fight he'd like to have a world title fight within the next sort of year or two. I think they might push for about maybe 2 to 3, not 1 to 2. Look, depends on the opponent, who the champions are, whatever it might be at the time they want to step him up. But I don't see the rush. He's 21 years of age. Let him get to 22, 23 when his body actually starts to really mature, and then throw him in with a world champion. Yes, Glenn, we can. We can all just agree that the WBC is a disgrace. Yes, with an exclamation mark at the end, Glenn, for sure. Yeah, BJ did now, mate. Rocky Balboa knock out that bum Spider Rico once. He did. He did, mate. Yes, that's for sure. Richard, hey mate, yeah, I enjoyed it, and he definitely wears his heart on his sleeve. Sorry, I missed that one there. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind in the comments. All right, Kane Navarrete is a beast. Love watching him fight. Yeah, he just gives you maximum entertainment every time. Kane, he just rolls up. He's an honest type of fighter, awkward as hell, but you know what you're going to get every time he steps in the ring, and that is a guy that's going to just try and win every round or win by knockout in every single round that he has. So I love watching him fight too, Kane. Glenn, I'm actually surprised the Turk hasn't bought the WBC. God knows they'd sell it to him. Would they, Glenn? I'm not sure. I reckon they would sell it as long as Mauricio Sulaiman was still able to front it, I would probably think, because you can see that's almost like he sees it as his birthright, that he is the WBC. I think that's what he sees the WBC as. It's his. Even though he's just the head of the WBC, and it seems to get passed down through the generations, doesn't it? But he sees the WBC as his own. So maybe they'd sell it to him if it meant a quick buck, as long as he maintained his position at the forefront, getting his nice little salary. It's a non-profit thing, as he keeps telling us. Yeah, right. So, yeah, I'm surprised with you. But why would he pay for it, though, Turk, Glenn, if he could just invent his own one or do what I said with the Ring magazine? Don't know. But if he was going to buy one, the WBC would be it, wouldn't it? Because it's still the most prestigious belt out there, regardless of, the way it falls down sometimes. All right, Ray Lee, they probably should have stopped Nunes-Navarrete fights, the fight around earlier. Huge contrast to the fight stoppage with Zerafa and Nikita. Yeah, well, the difference is this time, though, Ray Lee, is that Zerafa is the one that pulled the pin. Nunes didn't want to pull the pin in the Navarrete fight. And doesn't that say a lot about the two fighters? Nunes, his eye was clearly, obviously, nearly shut. Then it was busted open. He wanted to continue. He was pissed after the fight that he didn't get to finish the fight. And Michael Zerafa, well, we've been over that 100 times. Got a little poke in the eye or whatever it was. And, he said, that's it for me tonight. Can I still get paid? Can I still get a rematch? I don't know what everyone's whinging about. Jeez, I was winning the fight after 2 rounds. Fair income. Glenn, question for everyone. Who's the belt with the most credibility now? Well, Well, Glenn, the thing is, it's always been the WBC. I would say it's the Ring magazine, if that's the one you're talking about. But then again, it's not necessarily a recognised belt, is it? It's just a Ring magazine belt. Out of the big four, I would say the IBF, but I don't like the rehydration clause in the rules where you can't rehydrate to over 10 pounds. I was going to say the WBC up until the last couple of weeks, Glenn. I think maybe the WBA. I'm certainly not going to say the WBA, but maybe the WBO. I would probably think. But at the end of the day, mate, they're all the bloody same, aren't they? All right. There's Polly the farmer. How are you there, mate? Glenn says it's the IBF. Yeah. As I said, mate, I just don't like the rehydration clause. Yep. NZ Old School says Ring Magazine. Yep, if you're going to count that, 100% would be the Ring Magazine. Glenn says no, he means the 4 alphabet belts. My order would be IBF, WBO, WBA, and last by a long way, WBC. Geez, Mauricio Sullivan would have a heart attack if you saw that, Glenn. I'd have the WBA last, Glenn. I just think they are a joke. Look at their ratings, mate. Look at their ratings in all divisions. It is just all over the place. Fighters in there that I've never heard of. Fighters that are ranked in the top 2 or 3 in all the other organisations and aren't even ranked at all by the WBA. It just doesn't make sense to me. Fair income. So, no, I wouldn't have the WBA. I would have the WBA last. I'd have WBO, IBF, WBC, and then the WBA. Yeah, sorry about that too. I just missed the Tazzy comments here, guys. Sorry about that. And Naz says, I think the IBF need to scrap rehydration. At least they call the mandatories and hold the champions accountable. Well, if you're going by that, yeah, Naz, I would agree that the IBF is probably the best as far as sticking to the rankings. The rankings are pretty good compared to the others, but sticking to the systems and the structures and rules and regulations, all that sort of stuff. So if you're going by that, and also the lack of all these interim champions and secondary champions and gold champions and East-West champions, all this bullshit, the IBF would probably be up there. But, yeah, I'd still have the WBO maybe just in front of the IBF. Big J, deaths for Zerafa are totally unacceptable. That's a threat. Yep, I stand by comments about Mick being a dickhead about things, but there's no excuse for death threats. Yeah, mate, that's what I said before. Look, well, I was just going to say it's nothing personal to Michael Zerafa. I suppose what I said before, maybe he could construe as personal, but I don't care. That's just the way I see it. But nothing excuses death threats, Big J. That is just ridiculous. So, yeah, as I said before, if you're one of those people, then give yourself an uppercut. All right, Drew, it won't happen because Usyk knows exactly who he is about to fight, but if Van Hoven beat Usyk, it would be a bigger upset than Tyson versus Douglas, and the shockwaves would be generational. Yeah, well, no mistaking that, Drew. It would be a massive, massive upset, and probably would be bigger than Tyson Douglas, wouldn't it? It won't happen? Yeah, I don't know. Well, I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. And I hope that he sees the error in his ways, and Alexander Usyk sees the backlash from the fans, realizes that it's a joke fight, and just says, "Oh, look, yeah, maybe I'll stick to the boxing side of things." As I said before, there's so many fighters he could have fought. Why does he need to fight this guy? If he wants to test himself, we'll do it against one of these other guys. The thing is, even if he beats this kickboxer guy, people are going to go, "Well, he beat the kickboxer. He gets nothing out of it. It's purely a money grab." But surely the money he's getting, he could earn that by fighting a legitimate boxer. It just does not make sense. Anyway, Naz says, imagine a heavyweight champion of the world who's had 2 fights in 12 years. Oh, geez, we talk about boxing being a circus, Naz, and the WBC. Imagine that, him holding the WBC heavyweight title. Geez, and the UFC would just be laughing at us. NZ Old School, this is about Michael Zerafa. He dogged it. Proofs in his actions no promoter would or could trust him. Don't be surprised if Matchroom pops up, though. Old School, he's the perfect guy for Matchroom, I would think. They need content. They need fighters who are going to fight on the shows, and he knows the game. He would say, or he would see that Michael is going to bring lots of eyeballs to the event and be controversial, all that sort of stuff. So would not surprise me, mate, if he ends up at Matchroom. All right. I think we're past the Tazzy comments now. I'm with you there, Richard. Horn Zerafa fights were great. That second fight, mate, when I watched the last, or the ninth round actually the other day, and it was on come up on social media somewhere. And I'll stand by Michael Zerafa on this one. He got absolutely crucified by the referee. Go and watch the ninth round. I'm sure you're all have, but watch it again. Michael Zerafa has Jeff Horn on the brink of being stopped. I'm not so sure. Well, maybe he could have gone down, but it was more the accumulation of punches. He is gone for all money. He's backtracking. He could barely hold his hands up. He's done. Michael Zerafa has him on toast. And in a clinch, the referee says, stop. Takes Jeff Horn to the doctor. The doctor says, well, yeah, okay, yeah, no, it's all good. Gives him about 20 to 30 seconds break. Then he regathers himself, and then, of course, the big right hand comes, bowls Michael Zerafa over, and there goes his shot. So even though he probably only won 1 or 2 rounds in the whole fight, that fight was 100% robbed of Michael Zerafa. But the fight itself was great. I was actually there that night in the crowd, and it was just a brutal, brutal fight. It really was. And when Jeff Horn decked Michael Zerafa, I thought the roof was going to lift off the place. It was just so loud. Wasn't a big crowd. It only would have been a couple of thousand people there in some sort of theatre setup they had there. But one of the most brutal Aussie fights I've ever seen, Richard, was that Horn Zerafa fight. What's that? Big J loves Tazzy's analogy about his grandfather serving in World War II. Along with my military career, I always say you're not in Afghanistan getting shot at, so things aren't that bad. Yeah, it's a good call there, Big J. And look, I agree with what Tazzy said. I mean, my grandfather served in Papua New Guinea, and I used to hear all the stories about that. Well, not a lot, if I'm being honest, because of the trauma that it probably caused him. I remember he had a leg that had been shot up. He got shot in the leg, and his leg was straight. He couldn't bend it, and had to have multiple operations over the journey. And I remember him sort of just, as I said, not really going into detail, but just sort of skipping over some of the stuff that went on over there. And it was just absolutely horrific. So, yeah, you're right. If you're not getting shot at, things aren't so bad. And I know, look, the thing is with the mental health thing too, I'm not saying mental health doesn't exist, but if you've got a mental health problem in the sport of boxing, you're in the wrong business. And that's, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone that has mental health problems, but you're in the wrong sport, because this sport will strip you down to your bare essentials and then hang you out to dry. It is a tough, tough sport, and especially in this age of social media on top of that as well. So, yeah, not the sport to be in if you've got a few issues. Glenn Chock is a red hot basketball player back in the day, or was a red hot basketball player. Yep, I remember him. Glenn, this is Chock Mundine. A lot of people assuming Tim walks through Errol, says J Beebs. I'm a Tim fan, but I remember what Spence was at his peak. If he's even 6%, I favour the Texan. Oh, there you go. Yeah, look, I must admit, J Beebs, I tend to forget or not remember, I suppose, the Errol Spence pre-Terence Crawford. I just remember, I'm sure everyone watched it on TV. I was actually at the fight that night in Vegas, and I just remember it was almost scary, the beating that Terence Crawford put on Errol Spence. That unfortunately the Errol Spence I remember. I mean, you go back to some of those other really good fights that Errol Spence had. They every time I start thinking of those fights, the Crawford fight just envelopes it and just obliterates it. I'm with you though. The Errol Spence before Crawford, I would have backed 100 times out of 100 to beat Tim, but we don't know what we're going to get. I think he needs to be a bit better than 60%. I would say maybe 75% he beats Tim, but we don't know what we're going to get. Has he been knocked around? It's been 3 years since he fought, almost 3 years, or well, actually it will be 3 years by the time they actually get in the ring. He's had the car accident. He's had the eye problems. He's had so many different problems, not to mention having the suitcase beaten out of him by Crawford. So, yeah, I don't know, J Beebs. I'm not going to say Tim will win, but I think if he's ever going to beat someone like Errol Spence, this is his chance. If he can't beat Errol Spence now, he will never beat him. And I think if he can't beat Errol Spence, it's time to walk away. Kevin Larena just had an interview and stated he's dropping down to cruiserweight to fight Jai this year. Isn't he the one that Justice Honey beat? So how would he qualify for a shot at Jai? Now, he's got the WBC, is it the Bridgerweight or something, isn't it? The title? Is that the WBC, the only ones with the belt in that, I think, aren't they? Let's have a look. Where is it? Yeah, the KO Kid, they call him. Yeah, he lost to Justice Honey. Well, geez, I would hope. And he lost his last fight to Lawrence Okoli. So if he gets a shot at Jai Apataya, well, I'll be saying the same thing that I've been saying about Usyk fighting the kickboxer. How could this Kevin Arena possibly earn a title shot with Jai Apataya? I hope that's not the case, old school. But again, nothing surprises me in the boxing landscape in this current age. Fair income. Richard says Jai Apataya was everywhere in the NRL Vegas weekend event and did plenty of media. Yeah, it was great for him, Richard. Fantastic exposure for him. Glenn says Spence was overrated. Good fighter, but just another Derek James copy and paste fighter. Yeah, look, I think he was an excellent fighter, Glenn. Was he a superstar? I don't think so. I think he had some good wins, Danny Garcia and Porter, and he fought Porter, didn't he? Yeah, Garcia. Sorry. What's his name? Danny Garcia. Let's have a quick look. He's had some pretty good wins there, Glenn. But yeah, I tip Terence Crawford to win, not that easily, but hang on, what have we got there? There's 2 R's in Errol, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. No, it's not. Jeez, come on, Lynden. Errol Spence. Look at it. Like his resume is probably as good as you're going to see. Yeah, sorry. So he's got Cal Brook. He's got Lamont Peterson was a good fighter back in the day. Mikey Garcia. Yep. Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, your Dennis Ugas. Yep. So he's had some. There's Leonard Bundu on his record there. I actually fought Leonard Bundu in the amateurs. What else we got there? He's had a few. But was he overrated? Look, I'm not going to say he was overrated, Glenn, but maybe not as highly rated as maybe some had him. He wasn't overrated as a fighter because he's an excellent fighter, but maybe he wasn't that A+ fighter we all thought he was. Maybe he was an A-, not an A+. Well, Glenn disagrees with me about Kevin Larena. Good fighter, will cause some issues at cruiser, but Justice Honey beat him pretty easy. I know it was at heavyweight, but geez, if he can't be competitive against Justice Honey, how's he going to be competitive against Jai Apataya? I don't know. He's a tough fighter. I'll give him that. But, geez, yeah, always adamant about fighting Jai. Okay, well, good on him, I suppose. Jai's got to fight somebody, doesn't he? So if he earns a shot, I mean, again, he's coming off a loss to Lawrence Okoli, so earn the fight. Sorry, thanks. Is that how far I'm behind? Boachok at 154. Sorry, I need to get a move on, don't I? What do you got there? Loma murders Tank. I wouldn't be so sure, Glenn. At 135, that'd be a tough fight. The old Loma, I would give a chance to I wouldn't say murder him, but I would say beat Tank. But I don't know. And Tank hasn't looked impressive at all in his last couple of fights, has he? So, look out, Ado. Prograis to spoil the Ben party. Jeez, I hope so, Ado. Nothing would make me happier than Regis Prograis beating Conor Ben, but I don't see it happening. Shadowboxer says, how's that little douchebag Conor Ben got himself a $15 million payday? Will forever annoy me. I can't stand the guy, Shadowboxer. Cannot stand him. And what he did to Matchroom. Not that I'm sticking up for Matchroom. I mean, they should be big enough and ugly enough to know that this stuff happens in boxing. But just the way Conor Ben went about it. He couldn't even have a meeting with Eddie Hearn or a sit down. Weak as piss from Conor Ben. So that's Conor Ben still going to co-main event. Yeah, he is, Richard. He's gonna fight Prograis on the Fury card. All right, old school MMA and UFC is popular in the Arab states, so the fight could be more about promoting boxing in those Arab states. Doesn't Turkey want the Arab states to be the home of boxing? He probably does, old school, but doesn't make it. Mean it's going to happen. Well, it's not big in the Middle East, and I doubt it ever will be. Well, not for generations. You wouldn't have thought. So, Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, Turkey's obviously, by the time boxing might even get to a stage where he might be happy with, he's going to be long gone. I would think Turkey Al-Sheikh, because it could take 40 or 50 years for it to become a sort of a boxing part of the world. All right, Big J. T Street and I had a discussion on a video the other day, and boxing hasn't been right internationally, not Australia. It's the opposite here since the turn of the century. Peak was 60s to early 2000s. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I don't know, Big J. I reckon if you went back through all the big fights of the last, 20 years, you'll find some massive fights. I mean, geez, the early 2000s, I mean, after the early 2000s, look, we had one of the greatest eras ever. So I've probably got to disagree a little bit with you there, because, I mean, we had the Mayweather, Pacquiao, De La Hoya era, and that is a massive era in boxing. And throwing the Shane Moses and Miguel Cottos and I was going to say not the Lennox Lewis's. He was probably a little bit before that, wasn't he? Although he was still champion around that time, wasn't he? But sort of on the tail end of his career. But just that era of Mayweather, Pacquiao, De La Hoya, Mosley, Cotto, Hatton, all those guys, and Morales, I should say, Morales and Barrera, and geez, I mean, that was some great times. Canelo, of course. Since then, I reckon we've had an unbelievable era. But as far as when you mean peak, I would probably agree as far as peak, as far as popularity with the fans goes, not with the quality of fighters, because I don't think we've probably seen a better, well, I was going to say we haven't seen a better era than that sort of 2000 to 2000 and say 20 or 15, whatever it might have been when Mayweather and all that were around. But I think as far as being peak, as far as fan involvement, the way the promoters all worked, how the broadcasting all worked, how the whole system of boxing went, I think was so much better. I know it all evolves these days, but I hate the pay-per-view streaming sites and the commentary they have these days and the ranking systems, although that probably hasn't changed. It's always been a bit dodgy. But I just think when you say peak for 60s to 2000, I think the popularity of boxing amongst fans out there was never higher. Maybe arguably, maybe to about 2010, I reckon, when De La Hoya exited and Mayweather and Pacquiao started to decline. That's probably when it started to go downhill. But then we had Canelo, who lifted the sport to another level again, didn't we? So, yeah, I think it's more so peak as far as the popularity of boxing goes. What have we got there? Still with Big J. Why do the fans, continue to let people like Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, Mayweather, and now even Usyk piss on the sport of boxing? The fans are too tolerant of the bullshit. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Big J. While fans continue to support these things, they'll continue to do them. I'm not totally convinced, though, that boxing fans would have got behind Jake Paul and even the Mike Tyson fight. I don't think a lot of them got on board for the Joshua fight. I think it was a lot of people it was free, so they just thought, oh, well, it's I don't think, well, we'll watch it. I don't think they would have paid for it. The Mayweather-Pacquiao one, I don't think Mayweather and Pacquiao are necessarily pissing on the sport, Big J. I think they're offering a different type of product. They're not coming out saying this is for a world title belt or it's for superiority in the welterweight division. Nothing like that. They're just saying, hey, we want to fight again. If you want to pay or watch it, pay your money, and away we go. But I'm really surprised that Alexander Usyk he's doing what he's doing, because he's probably one of the ones I always thought would always have the best interest of boxing at heart, would never do something as stupid as this. So, but by all accounts, Big J, they're going to keep doing these things as long as people keep paying the money or at least watching. If it's on Netflix or something like that, they'll keep doing it, mate. So I'm with you. I agree. But it is what it is at this stage. What's this here? Any unrest with the Aussie markets with the given conditions? Is this with what's happening in Iran, Octane? I'm not sure, mate. Unrest in the Oz. Is that what he's saying? Any unrest with the Aussie markets with the given conditions? Not sure there, mate. Eminem. Karen, whatever his name is, versus Paddy Donovan for the IBF 147-pound eliminator. Yep, so Paro still might have to fight Donovan. Yep, good call there, Eminem. Naz, how many fights does Canelo have left with Turkey? I think it's 2. Any chance after September in Saudi history? Last one with mega dollars for Zerafa belt in Vegas to try and get the belt some credibility. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they try and use Canelo as a bit of a way of making the Zerafa bout more credible. Naz. Now we had I thought it was a 5-fight deal. Maybe I was wrong. Was it 5 or even 6? Was it? The school fight was the first one, I think, and then the Crawford fight was the second one. I'm not sure how many he had. I thought it might have been 5, Naz. Maybe I'm wrong. But you would think that he will fight again, obviously, in September, and he'll have 2 in 2027, and that would maybe see him out and his career out as well. So, but who does he fight? You would think they would I think Turkey wants Hamza Shiraz to be one. You would think that maybe Billy would be the other one, and maybe they still hold out hope that Terence Crawford might come back. I doubt it, but you would think that they would be the opponents, because apart from those two guys, there's not really a lot of fighters that he could fight. Maybe the winner of Benavides and Bivol, if they happen to fight as well. But I definitely think that Shiraz and Billy are on the list. All right, Big J. Sad end for Shannon, but I'm glad it's finally over for her. She gave so much to boxing. Hopefully her retirement is a pleasant one, yeah. Yeah, as I said, Big J, I spoke to her over the weekend. She was pretty upbeat. I would like to see her. I did actually speak to her about it on the weekend, about what could possibly be next, and she said she'd love to get into, obviously, training. She does that already with her gym. I'd like to see her involved on the female national team, and maybe not even with the females, just the national team overall. I think that'd be great. Definitely as a role model to the young girls on the team. I think she'd be great to maybe work with a No Limit, or probably not No Limit, that didn't end well, did it? But maybe a matchroom or someone who's coming into Australia in a position here, whether it be a matchmaker or whatever it might, or just in the office, something, a consultant here that she could be. I'd love to see her even as a commentator. I think they could really use someone like her on someone like a main event or somewhere like that. I think it'd be great. So plenty of options for her going forward, Big J. All right, Ryan. What would be your theory on why we haven't really seen great heavyweights come out of the US since the late 90s or early 2000s? It's not like they don't have the cattle or lack of gyms. That's an excellent question, Ryan. I actually asked this the other day on some other thing I was on. It's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with some of the other countries just catching up on the US. I think it's just a cycle we're going through at the moment. Although, when's the last time they really had dominant heavyweights? It's probably, yeah, you're right, it's probably early 2000s. That's probably the last time. Even then, it was Lennox Lewis who was probably the champion. He was from England, obviously, England/Canada. It's a good question there, mate. I don't know. Because I remember back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, I mean, England was a laughing stock. They had no heavyweights. They had Frank Bruno. And it was always, who's going to knock out Frank next when he gets into a big fight? And now all of a sudden there's half a dozen of them, really good, solid heavyweights. I don't know. I mean, just look in just the 90s alone with, Holyfield and Tyson and or Buster Douglas and Tucker, and there was Witherspoon and, Burby, all these like heavyweights over the journey. Always, the heavyweight title, like it was home. Its home was the US. The most prestigious title in the sport was always seen as American. But you're right, for the last 20 or 30 years, not much has come out of there. And even look at the other divisions there, Ryan. The US don't dominate like they used to. I know they've got Shakur Stevenson and those types of guys, Ryan Garcia, but all the other divisions. Let's go through. We'll have a quick look. They don't rule the heavyweights. They don't rule the cruiserweights. They don't rule the light heavyweights. Although you could argue David Benavides, but does he identify as American or Mexican? It seems these days all the Mexican Americans are suddenly just Mexican. So they don't rule that. They don't rule super middleweight. They don't rule middleweight. They don't rule junior middleweight. While Sebastian Fundora, you could probably make a case for him. At 147, yeah, they do. Haney, Garcia, Romero, yep, definitely. 140, yep, Stevenson. You've also got Hitchens and Russell in there as well. 135, well, Davis and Mason, you would argue would rule it, although Moritalia would hold his hand up as well. And then it drops away really quick after that. 130, you can maybe make a case for Oshaki Foster, but then that's about it. So back in the day, it was all the US would dominate. I understand too, by the way, back then, all the European markets, all the Russian states and all those, they weren't in professional boxing, and that's had a lot to do with it. And even England, you don't see a lot of champions from there anymore either. There's only got a couple now. It used to always be America, England, those types, but now you've got all those Russian countries coming in and European countries. That's dwindled, but it's a good point there, mate. Richard, wasn't Wardley expected to fight Usyk next? Can't believe a word in boxing, but what's new? Yeah, good. Well, Wardley wanted to fight Usyk, Richard, but apparently Usyk didn't want the fight. Naz, keeping the theme of ridiculous on the undercard of Usyk versus Spider Rico will be Dave Allen versus a mummy. Be a good fight, that, Naz. Dave Allen's never in a dull fight, is he? So he wouldn't put that past him. What's that? Ray Ripley in the title picture again, Bin Chicken. I'm not familiar with Ray. Is it Ripley or Ripley? Octane, sorry, mate. Yeah, good fight, Eminem. Chanel Dargan, Maya Solomon. Great fight that would be there, Eminem. Let's see if either No Limit or Wanderer can get that fight together. It'd be fantastic. Well, you would think that fight would be pretty easy to make, considering that Chanel Dargan is a Wanderer fighter and Maya Solomon was part of the commentary team on the weekend. So, yeah, that will be a great fight, Eminem, for sure. Big J was the Eric Bischoff of boxing. Who's that there, mate? Throwing around too much money and not giving the quality shows, it's doomed to fail. Oh, he was the WCW of wrestling, wasn't he? Big J. I think we've spoken about that before. Ed says, good fight for Vargas. Needs a bit more schooling in a way. Yeah, that's Emiliano Vargas. Yep. Really good fight for him, Ed. Darren, just because you have a big name friend, what's that? Just because you have big name friends doesn't mean you know about mental health. Everyone is different. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean there, Darren, but I stand by what I said earlier. I'm all for mental health. I'm all for supporting people with mental health issues. What I'm saying is that if you have got mental health issues, then maybe boxing isn't the sport for you, because it's a cutthroat business, and unfortunately, only the strong sort of survive in this day and age. I don't say I agree with it, but that's just the way the sport is. And not just boxing, football, any major sport is the same. I know it's tough on athletes, but it is what it is. Ed says the ring belt is the belt. IBF has rehydration clauses to favour fighters. Maybe WBO is a bit more open for the fighters' camps at the time. Yep, I agree. WBO. Old mate says IBF, then WBO, then WBC, and WBA. Jesus, Ed, 3:20 in the morning there. Jesus. That was 23 minutes ago, though, by the way. And Andy says IBF, WBO, WBC, and then WBA. Yep. Don't care about this prestige. More interested in fighters climbing the ranks, getting the deserved crack over popular guys that get to bunny hop everyone else. Be fair. Good call there, Andy. Yeah, don't like the rehydration clause. Big J, the only problem I have with the WBO is when a current champion moves up a division and becomes a mandatory for that champion. Don't like it. They should have at least one fight against a top-ranked fighter. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, Big J. Yeah, you're right, because if you didn't know the WBO, if they do, you say they're the champion at 154, if they move to 160, they become the mandatory. Yeah, it's got merit, Big J. I suppose they've all got the faults in their own ways, but I reckon the IBF with the rehydration is a bit more of a problem than the WBO. The WBC is just a mess. WBA, I don't think are even relevant anymore. Octane, Usyk slips on Amsterdam waffle. Oh no, knockout loss. How embarrassing. Yeah. Yep. All right, Drew, regarding the Mayweather-Pacquiao 2 circus, I honestly think the result means nothing either way. I do feel that if Floyd loses, he won't be given a pass, but if Pac loses, he will, yeah. Rules for one, not rules for the other there, Drew. Yeah, I think I've just got a feeling that there's no way Floyd would be taking this fight if he thought he had any chance of losing. There's no way he wants to give up that 50-0 record. But if he does lose, he'll be judged very, very harshly. But if Pac loses, you're right. He'll probably just be given a free pass, no doubt. Octane, was Bundu tricky? Yeah, he was, man. I mean, I fought him in the amateurs, so it's a little bit different to the pros. But Yeah, he was a pretty slick boxer. Yep. Ryan, where would you rate Lovemore Nadu? He was fun to watch back in the day. Do you class him as an Australian boxer? I don't class him as an Australian boxer, Ryan, but I did love to watch him fight. Very, very entertaining. I think he might be in the Aussie Boxing Hall of Fame, but look, what I see is if a fighter is born in another country, fights here, and then goes home, I don't count them as Aussie boxers. Look, there's been plenty of fighters that have been born overseas that have fought out of Australia, but they've come here at a young age. They've spent their whole life here. They fought out of here. They still live here. I regard them as Australian champions, but Lovemore Nadu, let's just call him an honorary Australian. I think we did that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? The honorary Australian Mount Rushmore, and I think Lovemore Nadu might have been on there. Richard, what's that? Has Vinny Pazienza been to Tazzy? Tasmanian Devil, what a legend he was, mate. That's for sure. What do you guess? Sweet As agrees with me. Triple G, Canelo, Bivol, Lomachenko, Usyk, Trinidad, the Klitschko's, Joshua, etc. Some great fighters and fights over the last 20 years. Yeah, it's been the last 20 or so years, Sweet As, has been just fantastic. But the only problem was the heavyweights left a bit to be desired until probably Tyson Fury won the heavyweight title in 2015. Up until then, the Klitschko's had dominated in some pretty dull type of fights, really uninspiring type of fights. But in the meantime, apart from Pacquiao, Mayweather, and De La Hoya as the big three, Canelo comes along, Triple G comes along, Loma comes along. Yep, you're right. Usyk, Trinidad. We've had some great fighters over the last 25 years. So, as I said before, I've got to disagree that it's in a bit of a lull, but definitely as far as that, fascination with boxing that we used to have, and it was just a mainstay in our lives. It was always on regular TV, and it was just different. I mean, the internet ruined a lot of stuff. I used to love getting the magazines and reading it, and you don't obviously have to do that these days. Just different times, that's all. Drew, most people speculate that Mayweather has come back for an expired fight due to financial problems, but the same might be possible for Pac-Man due to his blind generosity amongst his people. I got no doubt both guys are doing it to some extent for the money, Drew. I don't think it's as dire for both of them as what's been reported. I think if either of them was having money troubles, it might be more Pacquiao than Mayweather, because he has given a lot of his money away. And how could you lose up to $1 billion? I mean, you could almost like try your hardest and still not be able to do it, really. I know there's apparently hundreds of millions of dollars have been apparently tied up in real estate or whatever it might be for Mayweather, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just say, hey, look, we may as well have a fight and earn 50, 60, 70 million. Why not? While we can. I've got no dramas with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I really don't. Am I going to be sort of counting down the days to it? No, not like the first one. But it's got totally... It's totally different to the boxing landscape. They're not pretending it's going to be a major fight in the scheme of what's going on in the 154 or 147 pound division. They're saying, hey, we're just two legends who just want to fight, and we're going to earn a shitload of money doing it. And if people want to watch, then come on board. If you don't, well, whatever. So I don't think it's nothing like the Usyk fight anyway. What have we got here, Naz? List for this week: top 10 favourite boxing deep dive subscribers. Well, of course you, Naz. You got to be on the list, don't you? Of course you do. I won't single out people. I won't do that. Yeah, Richard, Lennox Lewis should be higher up the greats list, in my opinion. Yeah, in the heavyweight division? Yeah, maybe. Well, where is he on your list, Richard? I would have, if you're talking heavyweights, I would have Ali, Holmes, Lewis, Foreman, Fraser, then maybe Lewis, then a Tyson. I don't know. There's probably someone I forgot. But Rocky Marciano isn't in there. I'll move on. Wait for all the Rocky comments. Really, the lack of outstanding American heavyweights. Most of the big athletic teenagers who would make great heavyweight boxers end up playing in the NFL or the NBA. Good call there, Sweet As. Didn't actually consider that. It's a really good observation you made there. Yeah, because, I mean, there's massive money in boxing, but you've got to be exceptional to make that type of money. And the odds are probably a lot easier in NFL or NBA than it is in boxing. It's 1 in a million that makes it in boxing, where you've got a lot better chance in one of those other sports, especially like an NFL. If you're just big and strong and maybe can run a bit, you can be a blocker or whatever they are. The NBA, well, you got to be a little bit more athletic, don't you? But yeah, it's a really good call there, mate. They make more money playing American football or basketball. Yeah, and they probably do. Look, the real, I was just going to say the real top liners probably make more. They probably don't, though, do they? I don't know what they make in American football or NBA, but I did see one of the NBA basketballs recently signed like a 5-year, $250 million contract. It's not bad, is it? It's not bad at all. Old school, who's your next big star coming out of the amateurs to keep an eye on? I couldn't really answer that, old school. I'm not quite sure. I haven't really followed the amateurs for a while, mate. So, yeah, I don't know. Mutzi Kermel was handy. I'm looking forward to seeing them step him up a bit. Yeah, he's still only young, though. A young guy, though. Mutzi, he's probably got another couple of years before I think they really step him up. He's only about 19 or 20 or something, isn't he? So, plenty of time. Drew, if Teofilo Stevenson turned pro to fight Ali between 1970 and 75, who would you favour? I have Ali by close unanimous decision or split decision due to his extensive resume. Yeah, that would have been a fight of the ages, Drew. And if you don't know about Teofilo Stevenson, he won, I think, 3 Olympic gold medals, and he wasn't allowed to turn pros from Cuba, and they weren't allowed to fight in the pros back then. I would still back Ali, Drew. I mean, the amateurs and pros, as we know, are just totally different sports. And I remember Stevenson as an amateur, he'd just be all over his opponents for 3 rounds. He was a big, strong, athletic guy. So I think that sort of suited him in the amateurs, probably a little bit like Felix Savon as well in recent times from Cuba. Over 15 rounds, though, with someone like Ali, who was such a great tactician. He knew all the tricks in the book. He was a smart guy as well, obviously, with the game plans like the rope-a-dopes and that sort of stuff. I think Ali and his boxing IQ would have been a bit too much for Stevenson. I think he would have won on points. All right, Daniel, what do you got here, mate? If you went pro back in the day or even now, who would you like to be on your team? Well, I remember when I looked at being or turning pro when I was, early 20s, I suppose it was, 23, 24. Actually, it might have been just turned 25 after the Commonwealth Games. I would have probably turned pro with Fennick back then, Daniel. Fennick was my hero. He was signing fighters back then. Danny Green signed with him off our Commonwealth Games team. I would have definitely went with Jeff Fennick there, mate. But now, I would probably, if I was staying pro in Australia, if I was had an Australian team, I'd probably go with the Team Maloney team. I would have Angelo Hyder as my trainer, Tony Tolge as my manager. That would be the team. I've seen them in action. I know I might be a little bit biased, but I've been away, seen them in action so many times. I just think Angelo Hyder is a great trainer. Tony Tolge, don't get much out of him, but he really knows his stuff. He's got a lot of contacts out there, and the Maloney boys have just constantly just had big fight after big fight and opportunity after opportunity. So I'd have those as part of my team there, mate. Although I might be in the minority, but I'd have no problem having Glenn Jennings on board either as a manager. But as a trainer, I would probably go for Angelo Hyder for sure there, mate. Lots of good, so many more these days too, by the way. Lots of great trainers, managers, all that sort of stuff. So, sweet as. Can you please give us your thoughts on one of my favourites, Triple G? He got robbed against Canelo in the first 2 fights. Arguably sweet as. I was actually at all 3 Triple G and Canelo fights, and I remember in the stadium in the first fight, 100%, the feeling is that Triple G got robbed big time. I must admit on the night, and I'll probably lose you as a subscriber after this, I thought it was close, and I didn't have a problem with the draw. I thought the Triple G might have just scraped in by a round or so, but I also then had to apply the Canelo tax, which then married it back up, evened it back up. So I would have had a draw. The second fight, I thought it was close enough to go either way. I didn't have a problem with Canelo winning. It would have been just the same if Triple G had a won. It just depends on how you score the fight. So, but the third one, of course, was just all Canelo. I was really disappointed in the Triple G that turned up for the third fight. Just didn't. No, he just wasn't there, was he? But as I said, mate, as I said, the first fight I thought was either way. I thought was a draw. A draw was a good call. The second fight I think could have gone either way. But you always knew it was close that Canelo was going to get the benefit of the doubt, didn't you? So, but I love Triple G, sweet as. I just wish that he had some other legacy fighters that he could afford. I mean, he only really had Canelo, and that was it. I mean, I really feel for him because, you know, back with the Fabulous Four with, you know, with Leonard and Duran, Hearns and Hagler and these types of guys, they had others, and Mayweather, Pacquiao, Trinidad, De La Hoya, Mosley, Cotto, they all had each other to feed off. They all had legacy fighters around them. But Triple G, unfortunately, just had nobody except Canelo, and the fight just took place way too late. And I don't subscribe either to the fact that, well, people say that Canelo waited for Triple G to get old. Remember, Canelo had only been a middleweight for a year or so before they actually fought. So I don't see Canelo. It's not like Canelo went up to middleweight and waited 3 or 4 years. I was there for 12 months. I don't subscribe to that with Canelo waiting till Triple G got old. He waited until the time was right to go to 160, but it wasn't his fault that Triple G was sort of getting past it by then. So I just really feel for Triple G that he never had a Hearns or a Hagler or Duran or one of those type of guys around, or he wasn't, you know, a division or two lighter. Imagine Triple G thrown in the mix with Mayweather, Pacquiao, and De La Hoya, and Trinidad, and Hopkins, and Jones. Oh, it just would have been fantastic. So, Tony, but it is what it is. Richard, best boxing venue. I love it's worldwide. I'm gathering. I love the MGM Grand, mate. Yeah, the T-Mobile was okay. I love the MGM Grand. It's probably my favourite venue. Drew says, controversial take. I was fine with all 3 Triple G Canelo results. I thought Triple G blew a 2-round lead in rounds 11 and 12. I think Canelo won 2 and definitely 3. Well, that's sort of the way I saw it there as well there, Drew. Yeah, you're probably right with the late rounds. I think he did take the foot off the gas. There's Glenn. Canelo sucks. Yeah, he might there, Glenn, but I'm just saying. I'm just giving my thoughts on it. But, yeah, I sort of agree with you, Drew. I thought, as I said, I thought the first one, I thought a draw was fine, and I thought the second one could have gone either way, and then, you know, Canelo obviously put it to bed in the third one. So what else we got there, guys? We've got a couple of minutes to go. Have you got anything else you want me to talk about? If not, we'll call it a night. Don't forget to, guys, every single day, the walking boxing. It was a little bit late today. I've been having some issues with the internet today. I thought it said it was sort of uploaded, and then I went back about an hour and a half later, and it said it was still processing, and it was going round and around. Then it took another hour to load. It's just a bit hard. We've had bad storms here at the moment, so I've got a feeling that's sort of mucking a few things around. So I'll try and get them out by about 10:30, 11 o'clock most days, as I always do, but we'll see how we go. Yes, Adam, you are late there, mate, but better late than never. Go back and watch the replay. There's Ryan. Great show. Thanks, mate. Tune in for Smoko tomorrow. Good stuff, mate. And I'll try and have it up by about 11 o'clock tomorrow, mate, so you can catch up for Smoko. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Hope you have an awesome week, and we'll catch you next week on Talking Boxing.